Okay, so now let's talk about private health insurance in Portugal. So before we get started, just bear in mind that everybody has different healthcare situations and healthcare needs. So the information that I'm going to give you is based on my own experience. It's purely informational. I'm not a healthcare provider or a healthcare professional. Do your own due diligence when you're searching for insurance. In this section, I'm just hoping to raise your awareness of what options are out there and help you to ask the right questions when you do go in search of a policy. So first of all, as I've stated, there is public health care, but most Portuguese people balance that with the private health insurance. So they use the public healthcare system as a type of safety net. For example, if pre-existing conditions are excluded under private insurance, then they may opt to use the public system. So there are a variety of different options available. I'm going to go over the ones that I know of and the different plans and levels of coverage. However, this list is not exhaustive. Bear in mind, if you do speak to an agent, very often in America when we speak to an insurance agent, they may deal with several different companies. And they might be able to shop around and get you the best rate or the plan that fits you best. That may not be the case when you're working with a Portuguese agent. Some do represent more than one company, but bear in mind that many represent only one company. So they may be trying to sell you on a plan that's best for them based on what their company offers. So find out what's available and do shop around when you're looking for your private insurance. So the first company that I'm going to talk about is the company that I actually have private insurance through, which is MGen Advanced Care. The big advantage to MGen is that they've covered my pre-existing conditions after a 1-year waiting period. As I mentioned in a previous video, I suffer from advanced glaucoma, so I wanted to make sure that that was going to be covered under my private health insurance policy in Portugal. I've since downgraded my coverage to a lower level than what I originally had. When I first got to Portugal, now I'm a healthy male in my mid-40s, I had the maximum coverage, the top cover. And I'm going to go over what that included here. So I was paying just under 150 euros a month. I had a policy max of 100,000 euros per year. Now, this is a lot in Portugal. I know 100,000 euros or $100,000 in America doesn't get you much. That could be a visit to the emergency room. But in Portugal, that's a lot. Within network, I had no copays. Outside of my network, I had a 30% copay. The only problem was that I needed a prescription from a GP or from another doctor, and then I had to submit that when I made my claim, and I would get 70% reimbursed. Now, sometimes the cost of care is so low in Portugal that it doesn't warrant spending your time going to a doctor, getting a prescription, and being reimbursed. At times, of course, it can be quite expensive and you'll need to do that. But for me, I found myself self-insuring on so many occasions that I actually switched to a lower plan. So now I have a 250 euro copay, or I should say 250 euro deductible, and a limited number of free doctor visits per year. And I think this is enough for me. And again, I have access to the public system if anything should happen and I need to be covered by them. All your expenses are submitted via the app. You can upload your prescription and whatever the medical expense is, and you'll be reimbursed into your bank account. And it's very fast, usually within like 48 or 72 hours. So I found the app easy to work with. One thing that I thought was really advantageous initially about this policy is that it includes a level of global coverage. I can't remember what it was. It was around 50,000 euros per year. But I tried to make a claim once and I found them to be very difficult. I had to submit copious amounts of documentation proving that the services were medically necessary. I was traveling in Spain and I cut my foot and I needed stitches. And what they were going to reimburse me versus what they wanted me to do to be reimbursed, it wasn't worth it. So I would suggest, if you do plan to travel abroad, to get travel insurance. And I'm going to talk about that in a future section. All right, so let's go on to our next care provider. Okay, so our next insurance provider that I want to talk about is Fidelidade. Fidelidade is a very big insurer. I actually have my car insurance and my motorbike insurance through Fidelidade. I found their agents to be honest, straightforward, easy to work with. One nice thing about Fidelidade is that they offer very generous coverages for cancer. You pay a little bit more, but I believe it's up to €1 million per year for your cancer treatment if you should need it. So that's something that you can discuss with an agent. Just be aware that there is a higher level of coverage available for that. They do not cover pre-existing conditions, but Fidelidade is very interesting because you submit an application and then a healthcare practitioner will call you. In some cases, I'm not sure if you have to meet with them or it's simply done over the phone, but they will do a pre-policy assessment and they will let you know before you purchase your policy, this is what we will cover. This is what we will not cover. So you won't have a lot of surprises with this was a pre-existing condition. So they should tell you right away. This was my understanding when I was speaking to agents and gathering information. So again, go and speak to an agent, and I found these agents to be terrific and easy to work with. So they should be able to inform you as to what's available and how much you would have to pay for that. Okay, so the third company I want to talk about is Allianz. Allianz is an incredibly popular insurance company with expats in Portugal. It's also widely accepted all around Portugal. Allianz doesn't technically cover pre-existing conditions, but when I was looking into their policies, one thing that I was told was if I developed a pre-existing condition while I was covered by another insurance plan and there had been no lapse in coverage, that Allianz would extend coverage to me. It's my understanding that several other insurance companies offer this same courtesy to their customers. So that's an important question to ask. If they exclude pre-existing conditions, you might say, well, I developed this condition while I was covered by my employer-sponsored work plan, and I've been at that job for 20 years, and I've been covered the entire time by the same plan. It's my understanding you do need to submit proof, documentation to the insurance company, and then they would be able to extend that coverage to you. I found Allianz, their prices to be very, very affordable and their coverage limits to be quite good as well. So they're another company to investigate. Now, many of these companies that I've talked about offer preferential rates for expats if they're members of a group AFPOP. AFPOP is a group for expatriates living in Portugal, and they do have an annual membership fee. It's around €60, and you're able to enjoy discounts on healthcare. Another great thing is that they have a lot of resources. If you've just moved to Portugal and you need an English-speaking attorney or an English-speaking plumber, they have a list of those services that are available to you. Many are in and around Lisbon, but they do have other resources in other parts of the country. So that's definitely something that's a huge benefit. Another nice benefit of AFPOP is that they send out weekly emails that keep you up to date about government policies that often it's in the news, but the news is in Portuguese. So for example, with everything that we've had to endure with COVID, we were kept abreast of whatever changes the government was going to make as far as quarantines and restrictions and where we could and couldn't go. And that was emailed to us every Friday afternoon. So that's a nice benefit to joining that group. Okay, so finally I want to talk about travel insurance. So one of the great things about Portugal is that it's a great jumping off point for the rest of Europe. If you do have a policy that includes global coverage, that's terrific. For me, I like the added security of having travel insurance, and I've also found that it's really affordable. I worked with an agent, and I'm going to link her name in the files section of this section of the course. I paid less than €200 per year, and I got a European-wide policy. It covers me for trips up to 90 days. She has several levels of coverage available. You can get worldwide coverage excluding the USA. you can also get worldwide coverage including the USA. And of course, worldwide coverage that includes coverage in the United States is the most expensive policy, not the more expensive, the most expensive policy. You also have an option to add a COVID rider to your policy, which is really nice. So not only are you covered in the event that you get COVID-19 and you become sick, but if you're leaving to go to another country and you feel fine, you have no symptoms, you take a test and you test positive, and the country that you're in says you tested positive, you can't fly, you need to quarantine for 14 days or however long they're going to make you quarantine. The insurance policy I have will cover me to stay in a hotel for up to 14 days. So however long up to 14 days that is required for me to quarantine, that's covered as part of my insurance policy. So for me, I think it's a very worthwhile purchase.